The jajangmyeon was burning. Not the noodles. Those were fine, glistening with black bean sauce in the ceramic bowl on the marble counter. It was the air around them. The kitchen smelled wrong. Too sterile. Too much imported lavender diffuser. Not enough palm oil, not enough home. Grace stood there, wooden chopsticks in hand, staring at the lunch she'd prepared for a man she'd never met, wondering why her chest felt tight. She didn't belong here. Not in this penthouse overlooking Gangnam. Not in this kitchen where every appliance cost more than her rent back in Lagos. And definitely not in the life of someone famous enough to need a live-in maid who signed an NDA before she even saw his face. But the pay was good. Better than good. So she stayed. Before I go further, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I love seeing how far our Afro-Korean stories travel. And if you enjoy these tales, like and subscribe to keep them alive. Now, let's continue. The front door clicked open. Grace's breath caught. She smoothed her hands down the front of her plain black uniform, the one his mother had chosen, the one that made her feel invisible, and stepped back from the counter. She'd been told he wouldn't be home until evening. She'd been told to stay out of sight when he was home. But there he was. Effortlessly beautiful. Hair damp from the Seoul drizzle outside, falling across his forehead in a way that probably drove millions of fans insane. He wore a black hoodie and ripped jeans, and he moved through the space like he was tired of being looked at. His name was Jihoon. She knew because she'd seen his face on a billboard outside the convenience store. Clips, the poster said. The name of his group. He was the main vocalist. The one with the sad eyes and the voice that made people cry. He didn't notice her at first. He just dropped his bag by the door, kicked off his sneakers and walked straight to the kitchen. Straight to her, eyes locked on his phone. Grace froze. She started, but her voice came out too quiet. He looked up, and for a moment the world went still. His eyes were darker up close. Not cold but guarded, like he'd learned to keep people out. He blinked once, twice, and then his gaze dropped to the bowl of jajangmyeon on the counter. You made this. His voice was softer than she expected. Whoa. Little raspy. Grace nodded. Yes. Your mother said you like it. She did. There was something strange in the way he said it. Not angry. Just surprised. He moved closer, and Grace instinctively stepped back. He smelled like rain and something faintly sweet. Cologne maybe, or shampoo. He picked up the chopsticks, twirled a bite of noodles, and ate without ceremony. She watched his jaw work. Watched the small crease form between his brows. It's good, he said quietly. Thank you. He set the chopsticks down and looked at her again. Really looked. And this time she felt it, the weight of being seen. Not as the help. Not as the girl his parents hired to clean and cook and disappear. Asim. What's your name? Grace. He nodded slowly, like he was testing the shape of it in his mind. Grace. The way he said it made her heart do something inconvenient. I'm Jihoon. I know. A flicker of something crossed his face. Amusement. Disappointment. She couldn't tell. Right, he said. Of course you do. Silence settled between them. Not awkward. Not comfortable either. Just there. Grace didn't know where to look. His eyes were too intense. The kitchen felt too small. I should. She gestured vaguely toward the hallway. I have laundry. Wait. He stopped. Jihoon ran a hand through his damp hair, and for the first time he looked uncertain. Like he wanted to say something but didn't know how. Do you? He hesitated. Do you like it here? In Seoul? The question caught her off guard. She thought about lying. Thought about giving him the polite answer. Yes, it's wonderful. Thank you for the opportunity. But something in his eyes made her honest. Sometimes, she said. Sometimes I feel like I'm breathing underwater. He stared at her. And then, so quietly she almost missed it, he said, yeah, me too. 3 weeks passed like that. Small moments. Quiet exchanges. He started coming home earlier. Started eating lunch in the kitchen instead of his room. Started asking her questions about Lagos, about her family, about why she came to Korea. She learned things too. That he hated the taste of coffee but drank it anyway because it kept him awake during rehearsals. That his favorite sound was rain on windows. That he'd wanted to be a painter before he became an idol, but his parents said art didn't pay. That he was lonelier than anyone she'd ever met. Grace tried not to care. She reminded herself every morning, this is temporary. He is not yours to know. But her heart didn't listen. It was a Thursday when everything changed. She was in his room, dusting, changing sheets, the usual, when she saw it. A sketchbook on his desk. Open. A drawing in charcoal. Of her. She was laughing in the picture. Head thrown back, eyes crinkled, joy caught mid-motion. She didn't even remember the moment, but he did. He'd captured it. Kept it. Her hands trembled as she set down the duster. Grace. She spun around. Jihoon stood in the doorway, still in his stage clothes. Leather jacket, silver chains, dark eyeliner smudged at the corners. He looked like a dream. Like someone unreachable. But his eyes were scared. I can explain. You drew me. He stepped inside, closing the door behind him. I'm sorry. I should have asked. He stopped. Followed. I couldn't help it. Her heart was a drum. A war drum. A love song. Why? He looked at her like the answer should have been obvious. Because you're the only real thing in my life. And before she could breathe, before she could think, he crossed the space between them and kissed her. Desperate. Like he'd been holding it in for weeks. Grace's world tilted. She kissed him back. But neither of them heard the front door open. Neither of them saw his mother standing in the hallway, eyes wide with fury. And neither of them knew that by tomorrow, everything they'd built in secret would be ripped apart. The hardwood floor was cold beneath Grace's knees. She hadn't meant to fall. Hadn't meant to stumble backward when Mrs. Kang's voice cut through the apartment like broken glass. But her legs had given out anyway, and now she was here, on the floor of Jihoon's bedroom. His mother's Chanel heels 3 feet from her face, and Jihoon standing between them like a human shield. Iyama, please. Get out of the way. Mrs. Kang's voice was ice. Precise. The kind of cold that burned. Grace forced herself to stand. Her uniform felt too tight suddenly. Too obvious. The black fabric that was supposed to make her invisible now felt like a brand. Cider. Mistake. Jihoon's hand found hers. Mrs. Kang's eyes tracked the movement like a hawk spotting prey. Let go of her, she said in Korean. Then, switching to English, sharp and deliberate. Now. But Jihoon didn't. His fingers tightened around Grace's, and she felt the tremor in them. Not fear. Something worse. Resolve. No, he said quietly. The silence that followed was suffocating. Mrs. Kang's expression didn't change. She simply pulled out her phone, tapped the screen twice, and held it to her ear. Security. I need someone removed from the residence. Immediately. Iyama. You are done speaking, Jihoon. Her eyes never left Grace. This girl has clearly overstepped. Seduced you. Taken advantage of your kindness. That's not what happened. Jihoon's voice cracked. Grace had never heard him yell before. Mrs. Kang's smile was thin. Poisonous. Then what did happen? Explain to me how I find my son, Korea's most beloved idol, kissing the help in his bedroom. Explain how this doesn't destroy everything we've built. Grace's throat closed. She wanted to speak. Wanted to defend herself, defend them, but the words tangled in her chest. Because part of her, the part that had grown up being told she wasn't enough, would never be enough, believed Mrs. Kang was right. What was she thinking? That she could belong in this world. That she could be loved by someone like Jihoon. I'm sorry, Grace whispered. Jihoon turned to her, eyes wide. Don't apologize. I should go. Grace. She's right. Grace's voice broke, but she forced the words out anyway. I don't belong here. She pulled her hand free. And the look on Jihoon's face nearly killed her. 20 minutes later, Grace stood in the marble lobby with a single suitcase and a severance check she hadn't asked for. The security guard wouldn't look at her. Mrs. Kong had disappeared upstairs. Jihoon was locked in his room. She'd heard his father's voice, low and stern, through the door as she packed her things. "This is better," she told herself. "Cleaner. You were always going to leave anyway." But her hands wouldn't stop shaking. The elevator dinged. Grace turned, and her breath caught. Jihoon stepped out, barefoot, hair wild, eyes red. "Don't," he said. "Just that. Don't." The security guard shifted uncomfortably. "Sir, your mother said." "I don't care what she said." Jihoon crossed the lobby in 4 strides. He stopped in front of Grace, close enough that she could see the tear tracks on his cheeks. "Don't go. Jihoon. I'll fix this. I'll talk to them. I'll." He was spiraling, words tumbling over each other. "I'll quit. I'll leave the group. I'll." "Stop." Grace's voice was firmer than she felt. She reached up, cupped his face with both hands, and made him look at her. "Stop." His eyes searched hers. "You can't throw away your life for me," she whispered. "You are my life." And God, the way he said it. Like he meant it. Like he'd never meant anything more. Grace's vision blurred. "I'm nobody, Jihoon. A girl who cleans houses. You're lonely. I'm lonely." His hands came up to cover hers. "I was drowning before you. Every day. Smiling for cameras and dying inside. And then you." His voice cracked. "You made me remember what it felt like to breathe." A tear slipped down Grace's cheek. "Your mother will never accept me. Then I'll leave. Your fans. I don't care. You will." Grace pulled back gently, lowering her hands. "One day, you'll resent me for what you gave up. And I can't." Her voice broke. "I can't watch you stop loving me. That will never happen. You don't know that." Jihoon grabbed her suitcase, yanked it away from her, and let it clatter to the floor. Then he kissed her. Hard. Desperate. Public. The security guard coughed and turned away. Grace's hands fisted in Jihoon's shirt, and she kissed him back like she was memorizing him. The taste of salt and spearmint gum. The way he tilted his head. The small sound he made when she bit his bottom lip. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Jihoon pressed his forehead to hers. "Give me 3 days," he whispered. "What? 3 days? Don't leave Seoul. Don't get on a plane. Just give me 3 days to fix this." "Jihoon. Please, Grace. Please." She closed her eyes. Every logical part of her screamed no. Screamed that this was a fantasy. That love didn't work like this. That girls like her didn't get happy endings with boys like him. But her heart. Her foolish, stubborn heart. 3 days, she whispered. The motel in Itaewon was small and smelled like instant ramen and old cigarettes. Grace sat on the edge of the thin mattress, staring at her phone. No messages. No calls. Just the severance check on the nightstand and the echo of Jihoon's voice in her head. "Give me 3 days." Had been 1. She didn't know what she expected. A grand gesture. A miracle. Mrs. Kong suddenly embracing her with open arms. The thought made her laugh. Bitter, hollow sound. She picked up her phone, opened her messages and typed. "Grace, I'm still here." She stared at the words for a long moment, then deleted them. He knew where she was. He'd found the motel address in her notes, made her promise to stay there, paid for the week in advance before his manager dragged him to a schedule. If he wanted to reach her, he would. Grace set the phone down and lay back on the bed. The ceiling had a water stain shaped like a heart. She stared at it until her eyes burned. The knock came at 11 p.m. Grace jolted awake, disoriented. The room was dark except for the neon sign across the street casting red and blue shadows through the curtains. Another knock. After. "Grace." Her heart stopped. She stumbled to the door, unlocked it with shaking hands and pulled it open. Jihoon stood there in a black mask and baseball cap, eyes tired but blazing with something fierce. I did it, he said. Grace blinked. Did what? He pulled out his phone, opened a video, and handed it to her. The screen showed a press conference. Jihoon at a table, surrounded by microphones. No makeup, no stylist, just him. And then he spoke. I'm in love with someone my family doesn't approve of. Someone the world will judge me for. But I'm done hiding. I'm done pretending to be perfect. My name is Kong Jihoon, and I choose her. The video ended. Grace stared at the screen, heart in her throat. You. She couldn't form words. You didn't. I did. Jihoon, your career is mine. Not my parents. Not my company's. Mine. He stepped inside, closed the door behind him. And I'm using it to choose you. Grace's hands trembled as she gave him back his phone. The internet is going to destroy you. Let them try. Your mother disowned me an hour ago. He said it like it was nothing. Like it didn't carve a hole in his chest. My father too. I'm officially cut off. No trust fund. No penthouse. No family name. Oh my God. But I'm free, Grace. He cupped her face, and his smile was the most beautiful broken thing she'd ever seen. For the first time in my life I'm free. A sob tore from her throat. Jihoon pulled her into his arms, and she buried her face in his chest and wept. For him. For them. For the impossible, reckless thing he'd just done. I'm so sorry, she choked out. Don't be. He kissed the top of her head. You saved me. They stood like that for a long time. Two people from different worlds, holding each other in a cheap motel room, while the neon lights flickered outside. And for the first time since this started, Grace let herself believe. But neither of them saw the photograph. The one taken by a sightseeing fan with a telephoto lens from the building across the street. The one already uploading to the internet with a caption that would change everything. Eclipse's Jihoon spotted entering motel with mysterious black woman. Identity revealed. The internet was a wildfire. Grace learned this at 6 a.m. when her phone, the cheap one she'd bought at a convenience store, started vibrating so violently it fell off the nightstand. She woke to Jihoon already awake beside her, sitting up in bed. His face illuminated by his phone screen. The blue light made him look ghostly. Hello. How bad? She whispered. He didn't answer right away. Then he turned the phone toward her. The headline was in Korean, but the pictures needed no translation. Her face. Jihoon's face. The motel door. Blurry but unmistakable. And beneath it, thousands of comments. Some in Korean, some in English, all of them screaming. Gold digger. He ruined his life for her. She's using him for fame. Black women always. Grace stopped reading. Her stomach turned and she pushed the phone away. I'm sorry, Jihoon said quietly. I should have been more careful. I should have. It's not your fault. Yes, it is. His voice was raw. I thought if I controlled the narrative, if I spoke first, it would be different. But they don't care about the truth. They just want someone to hate. Grace pulled her knees to her chest. She'd expected this. Course she had. But knowing and living it were two different kinds of violence. Maybe. Her voice came out small. Maybe we should stop. Just for a while. Let things cool down. No. The force of it startled her. Jihoon set his phone down and turned to face her fully. His eyes were bloodshot, but they burned with something unbreakable. I didn't blow up my entire life just to hide again, he said. I'm done running, Grace. From my parents. From the company. From people who think they own me. He reached for her hand. I'm not running from you. But your career is already over. He said it simply. Matter of fact. Eclipse's company dropped me this morning. Official statement went out an hour ago. Irreconcilable differences. The group's continuing without me. Grace's heart shattered. Jihoon. And you know what? A strange, broken laugh escaped him. I feel lighter than I have in years. A tear rolled down Grace's cheek. You're insane. Probably. He wiped the tear away with his thumb. But I'm free. And I'm yours. If you'll still have me. She kissed him. Soft and desperate and full of every word she couldn't say. When they broke apart, Jihoon's smile was small but real. So what now? Grace whispered. He thought for a moment. Then he stood, pulled on yesterday's hoodie, and held out his hand. Now. We go get breakfast. The street food stall in Hongdae was run by an ajumma who didn't recognize Jihoon without his stage makeup. Or maybe she did and just didn't care. She served them tteokbokki and oding with the same gruff efficiency she gave everyone. And Grace had never tasted anything more delicious. They sat on plastic stools, shoulders touching, while the morning crowd flowed around them. Students, office workers, tourists, people living their lives, unconcerned with scandals and headlines. I used to come here, Jihoon said quietly, before I debuted. When I was just a trainee with no money and too many dreams. Grace looked at him. Do you miss it? That version of your life? Sometimes. He stirred his tteokbokki absently. But I don't miss who I had to be. The perfect son. The perfect idol. Always smiling, always grateful, never real. And now, he met her eyes. Now I get to be human. A woman at the next table glanced over, did a double take, and quickly looked away. Grace saw her whisper to her friend. Saw the phones come out. We're being photographed, she murmured. I know. Doesn't it bother you? Jihoon considered this. Then he picked up a piece of tteokbokki with his chopsticks and held it out to her. Let them watch, he said. Grace's heart squeezed. She leaned forward and took the bite. And Jihoon's smile could have lit up all of Seoul. The video went viral by noon. Not the saying photos. Not the hate comments. Jihoon and Grace at a street stall, feeding each other tteokbokki, laughing like the world wasn't burning around them. Someone had filmed it, posted it. And somehow, impossibly, the narrative began to shift. Look at how happy he is. I've never seen him smile like that. Maybe we should let him live. It wasn't everyone. The hate was still there, still loud. But cracks were forming. And then, at 3 p.m., everything changed again. Grace's phone rang. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer. But something made her. Hello. Grace saw Konquo. The voice was female. Older. Unfamiliar. Yes. My name is Lee Minji. I'm a producer at JBC. I saw the news about you and Jihoon, and I have a proposition. Grace's stomach tightened. I'm not interested in selling our story. I don't want to buy it. I want to tell it. We're developing a documentary series. Love Without Borders. Real couples navigating cultural differences, family rejection, public scrutiny. You two would be perfect. I don't think. It pays well. And more importantly, it gives you control. Your words. Your truth. Not twisted by tabloids or netizens. Grace looked at Jihoon, who was watching her with quiet curiosity. Can I think about it? Of course. I'll send you the details. The call ended. Grace stared at her phone. What was that? Jihoon asked. He told him. He was quiet for a long moment. Do you want to do it? He finally asked. I don't know. Grace set her phone down. Part of me wants to hide. To disappear until this all blows over. But another part. She trailed off. Another part. She looked at him. Another part is tired of being erased. Of being the maid. The outsider. The girl nobody sees. Her voice strengthened. Maybe it's time people see me. The real story. Not the one they invented. Jihoon's eyes shone. Then let's do it. 6 months later. The documentary premiered on a Tuesday. Grace watched it in the small apartment she and Jihoon now shared in Yeonam-dong. Modest, cozy, nothing like the Gangnam penthouse but theirs. The episode opened with the motel. The scandal. The hate. But then it showed what came after. Jihoon working at his friend's cafe, learning to make lattes, failing beautifully. Grace taking Korean classes, stumbling over pronunciation, laughing at her mistakes. both of them navigating a new life. Smaller, harder, real. There was an interview segment where Jihoon's voice cracked talking about his parents. "I keep hoping they'll call," he admitted. "That they'll see I'm happy and that'll be enough. But I'm learning that sometimes love means letting go. Even when it hurts." And there was Grace talking about what it meant to be seen. "I spent so long trying to be invisible," she said to the camera. "Small. Acceptable. But Jihoon saw me when I was just me. Burning Jajangmyeon and homesick and scared. And he loved me anyway. That's the story I want people to know." The final scene showed them at the Han River, sitting on a blanket as the sun set. Jihoon had brought his sketchbook. Grace watched as he drew her, again, but this time she was looking right at him. Not laughing. Not performing. Just there. "What are you thinking about?" "Documentary," Grace asked documentary Jihoon. He looked up from his sketch. "That I'd do it all again," he said. "Every hard thing. Every loss. Just to get here. With you." On the couch in their apartment, real Grace wiped her eyes. Real Jihoon wrapped an arm around her. "Still okay with being famous for love?" he teased. "Ask me again when the comments section loads." He laughed, and the sound filled their small, perfect home. Grace's phone buzzed. She picked it up, expecting hate, expecting trolls. Instead, she found messages from her mother in Lagos. "I watched. I'm proud of you." From Jihoon's former bandmate, Taehyun. "You made him brave. Thank you." And, impossibly, from an unknown number with a Korean prefix. "This is Jihoon's mother. We need to talk." Grace's breath caught. She showed Jihoon the message. His face went carefully blank. Then something flickered, hope, fragile and terrifying. "Do you want to?" Grace asked softly. "I don't know." His hand found hers. "What if she still hates you? Hates us? Then nothing changes. We're already happy. And if she doesn't?" Grace smiled. "Then we get to be happy and you get your family back." Jihoon stared at the message for a long moment. Then he typed, "When and where?" 3 days later. The cafe was neutral territory. Not the penthouse, not their apartment. Somewhere in between. Mrs. Kong arrived exactly on time, dressed in a cream Chanel suit, every hair in place. She looked older than Grace remembered. Tired. She sat across from them without ordering anything. For a long moment nobody spoke. Then Mrs. Kang's eyes landed on Grace. "You're still here." It wasn't quite a question. More like acknowledgement. "Yes," Grace said steadily. Mrs. Kang's jaw tightened. "I thought you'd leave. When things got difficult. When the money ran out and the spotlight turned vicious. I thought you'd prove me right. I'm sorry to disappoint you." A ghost of something, surprise, respect, crossed Mrs. Kang's face. He turned to Jihoon. "You look different." "I am different. Thinner. Tired. Happier," Jihoon corrected quietly. Mrs. Kang's composure cracked, just slightly. "I watched the documentary," she said. "Your father refused. But I watched." Silence. "And?" Jihoon's voice was careful. Mrs. Kang's hands trembled as she folded them on the table. "And I realized I don't recognize my own son anymore." He paused. "But perhaps I never really did." Jihoon's eyes glistened. "Iyama. I wanted perfection for you. Success. Legacy. I thought love was a luxury. Something that came after achievement." Mrs. Kang's voice wavered. "But then I saw you drawing her. Saw the way you looked at her like she was air. And I realized." He stopped. Took a breath. "I realized I've never looked at your father that way. Or had him look at me like that. And perhaps that's why I couldn't recognize it. Couldn't accept it." A tear rolled down Grace's cheek. Mrs. Kong turned to her. "I'm not asking you to forgive me. I said cruel things. Did cruel things. But I'm asking." She swallowed. "I'm asking if there's room in my son's life for a mother who's trying to learn." Grace looked at Jihoon. His face was a mess of emotions. hurt, hope, love, fear. But when he spoke, his voice was clear. There's always been room, Iyama. You just had to be willing to step into it. Mrs. Kang's composure finally shattered. She cried, quietly, properly, into a monogrammed handkerchief. And Jihoon reached across the table and held his mother's hand. 1 year later, the art gallery in Itaewon was small but beautiful. Grace stood in front of a charcoal drawing, herself laughing, head thrown back, joy captured in careful strokes. Belonging by Kang Jihoon, the first piece in his debut exhibition. Around the room hung others. Seoul streets, Nigerian sunsets. His mother's hands. Grace's hands. Moments of connection, rendered in shades of gray and hope. What do you think? Jihoon appeared beside her, hands shoved in his pockets, nervous in a way he never was on stage. I think you found what you were looking for, Grace said. What's that? A way to be seen. On your terms. He smiled. Across the room, Mrs. Kang stood with Grace's mother, an unlikely pair, communicating in broken English and enthusiastic hand gestures, bonding over their shared exasperation with their children's stubbornness. Grace's father was taking photos of everything, documenting this moment with the same intensity he'd brought to her graduation. And in the corner, Taehyun and the other Eclipse members stood awkwardly, having come despite the company's disapproval, because some loyalties ran deeper than contracts. We did it, Jihoon whispered. Did what? Built something real. Out of all that wreckage. Grace laced her fingers through his. We did. The gallery door opened, and more people filtered in. Strangers, art lovers, curious fans, people whose opinions used to matter so much they nearly destroyed everything. But now they were just background noise. Because Grace had learned something in the past year and a half. Love wasn't about belonging to someone else's world. It was about building your own. Together. That night, after the gallery closed, Jihoon and Grace walked along the Han River, the same spot from the documentary. But this time Jihoon wasn't drawing. He was kneeling, a small velvet box in his hands. I know we've already lost everything and built it back, he said, voice shaking. I know we don't need a piece of paper to prove what we are. But Grace saw Konquo. He opened the box. Inside, a simple silver band with a single engraved word in both English and Korean. Belonging. Will you let me belong to you? Officially. Forever. Grace dropped to her knees in front of him, took his face in her hands, and through tears and laughter and the wild, relentless hope that had carried them this far, she whispered, yes. The photograph that went viral the next day wasn't taken by a Saseing. It was posted by Jihoon himself. Grace's hand in his, the ring catching the streetlight, their foreheads pressed together. The caption was simple. He said yes. And for the first time in my life, I understand what it means to be chosen. The comments section exploded. But this time mostly with love. And in a small apartment in Yeonam-dong, Grace and Jihoon turned off their phones, climbed into bed, and held each other as Seoul hummed outside their window. Two people from different worlds, who'd built a third one together, and called it home. So where are you watching from? Drop your country in the comments. I love seeing how far love stories travel. And if this one touched you, hit like and subscribe. Because stories like these, they deserve to be told. Over and over. Until the whole world learns. Love doesn't need permission. Just needs courage.